boss.
Morning, mate.
Morning, matey.
Coals are still going this morning.
Oh, yeah, burned right down, you know.
Yeah.
But look, another beautiful morning, you know, just so peaceful. Birds chirping away.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah. And you had a good sleep?
Good sleep, yeah. Always.
And you love that quart pot, eh?
Well,
Not many people know what a quart pot is, eh? And
No. Well,
can you tell us again what it is?
Well, it started off in early days, early droving, you know, because when drovers, or stockmen anyway, they had saddlebags. And this is all they had, just a quart pot. But it's a decent size. It's a one cup that really, you know, if you get a smaller cup, you got to go back and have another coffee and you keep filling it up. Where this one basically just once.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's interesting because that's similar to what the army uses too, like similar size, you know. You got like a similar sort of thing.
Yep.
Yeah, it's a good size, isn't it? And do you have the little cup goes in the top of it?
Little cup goes on top.
Yeah,
you know?
but you use that one.
This one, look, it's versatile. You can boil it. You know, you can put it on the fire and or gas.
Yeah.
So it's pretty well sort of all around, you know.
Yeah. And you've only done 3 years of school, and but also you speak you're fluent in your tribal language. So was that taught to you by your mother in the bush camps when you grew up?
Oh, that's just natural, you know.
Yeah.
Like with all the kids since your babies, you know, it's language. It's the only language that we knew.
Yeah.
Back then, and so it's automatically you don't have one specialised teacher. You know, you've got they're all teachers. The grandparents, like I said, they're the main strengths, I suppose, that holds everyone.
Yeah.
Your grandparents who teach you the words, explain the meaning and the tracks of animals and all that.
So you remember your grandparents teaching you a lot?
I spent a lot of time hunting too, you know.
Yeah.
Like I said, we had no rifles. The guns we just started to come in with odd one or two people, but most of them still hunted with spears and boomerangs and dogs. Like they had 2 or 3 main dogs which they took pride in. They looked after them because they're the ones that they use for kangaroos.
Okay. Dogs.
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. So they looked after them.
Yeah.
And everyone had, you know, 1 or 2 dogs. You know? Yeah. Because you couldn't do without them.
Yeah.
You know, you needed meat and you didn't have a gun, and sometime with the spears, the you know, bit of planning and location of where the animal may be that morning, then you had to be really sort of cautious and sneak up while they're sleeping, you know. Yeah.
And you'd sort of do that during the day when the kangaroos are bedded down, and you'd sort of try to find where they might be sleeping.
You start doing that early morning because you know all the animals' habits.
Yeah.
You know they're feeding during the night and then early morning, then around 10 o'clock, especially when it's cold winter time, and they've got their wind protection camping area.
Yeah.
So you know exactly which side of the bushes the kangaroos would be, in which direction they'd be sort of looking, you know.
Yeah. They like to tuck themselves out of the wind, don't they?
That's it, you know. Yeah. Then certain time they all pretty well all go to sleep, and then that's when you got a chance, you know. If you
Yeah.
can encircle them with 2 or 3 other guys with spears,
Yeah.
you've got a better chance. You know?
Yeah. But with dogs, you could just sort of, would the dogs just chase them down?
Chase them down, and if it's a fresh track, you know, if you print on the ground, you can point it to the dog. Dog will sniff that.
Yeah.
Then pretty well go after it. You know,
Really?
following that scent. Yeah.
Wow.
Mm.
And just jog after it.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And it doesn't take them long because as soon as you hear a bark, then you know they're onto it. You know.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
Wow.
yeah, yeah.
And
The
then,
dogs now that you see that overrun in the communities, you know, they're just they're more just a pets. That's it. Crossbreed, mixed breed, inbreed,
and those dogs you remember, would they be sort of from the cattle drovers, like, or would they, you know, like part dingo or?
cross between a dingo and cattle dog. Could some of them might have got a pup from the station managers and that, you know, and then they ended up crossing that with the dingoes and gradually, because they were big dogs, you know.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, big dogs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then you just carry it back to camp, and would you just throw it on the fire like a kangaroo, or would you dress it out?
We'd cut it up. We'd cook it on out there, you know.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. If you're long distance, you're better off cooking it there. If it's a big kangaroo, and then a lot of the time you'd cut it up and just take what you need. Then the rest you'd hang up on a tree.
Okay.
Yeah. And then a day or two later, and it doesn't go off, you know.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. With the sun and the wind, everything sort of hardened the skin and all that. So,
Okay.
and it doesn't attract blowflies or flies.
Once it goes hard, sort of dries out.
Yeah, and once it's up on the tree, you know.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
And you come back at it later.
Yeah. You know, if it's too much, then you'd send 2 or 3 guys back, or women back. They'll come back, and at the same time, they'd sort of do their hunting for goannas and lizards and all that, you know. Yeah.
So the women used to get the lizards and goannas.
Yeah, definitely, you know. Yeah. And the men would go after the bigger game. Yeah.
And the women could just grab a goanna, no worries.
A lot of them could, you know. Yeah. A lot of them, there's a lot of screaming and yokai, and they're scared of the claws, you know. From some of the bigger, especially Prindy, you know, which is much bigger than the goanna, you know, like the sand goannas here. You get here only probably that 2 foot long, you know. Yeah. Still fat, and but most of them also, like snakes, they go into hibernation, and so it's much easier. So you just look at where their entrance is, and hasn't been used. It might look old, but you know the animal's sleeping inside. Yeah.
So you dig them out sometimes.
You dig them out, you know. Yeah, you sort of stomp around because they sort of dig down, then they dig back up.
Okay.
Then just below the surface of the crust, it might be that thick.
Yeah.
You break through that,
Oh, okay.
then you know it's there. You know.
And you could stomp around and feel that.
Feel that, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So yeah. Then you know most of them are fat, you know, because they're hibernating. They've stored all their food and fat, and then it's time for 2 or 3 months sleep.
Yeah. What about snakes? Did you catch and eat snakes much? Or
No, not much. You
leave
know.
them alone?
Yeah, some do, like certain types of pythons that we had through our region, but not a lot, you know. Yeah. If we had to, then we'd certainly eat them. Yeah.
And what was your favourite? Do you remember, like bush tucker? Like, what did you really enjoy eating? You remember?
don't know, there's so many of them, you know, like you get your treats like the wild honey, the sugar bag.
Yeah.
They're nice, you know, yeah. Then all through the semi-arid desert country, I haven't seen any yet, but also the wild potatoes, wild yams. They grow so big, you know, and they're nice and juicy.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, yeah. But again, in the sandy loam country, you dig down a foot, something like that, you know. You get your treats like the wild honey, the sugar bag.
Yeah.
They're nice, you know, yeah. Then all through the semi-arid desert country, I haven't seen any yet, but also the wild potatoes, wild yams. They grow so big, you know, and they're nice and juicy.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, yeah. But again, in the sandy loam country, you dig down a foot, something like that, you know.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, yeah. And it stores a lot of juice and energy.
Yeah.
And it's something that you can eat raw or you can bake on the coals.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
And the wild honey, they were just like a wild beehive.
Yeah, yeah. And you'd see that more in old hollows of old trees, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can see all the bees flying in. This time of the winter time, they close their hive because they do have a cone coming out, you know.
Yeah.
In winter time because it's cold, so they shut it, and there's no flowers around, you know.
Okay.
Yeah. So then July, August, then when the flowers start coming out, then they start restocking, you know. Yeah.
Mm.
So during the winter, they live on what's inside they've stored.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And did you go hunts on your own or mostly with your uncles?
Mostly with uncles, and then as we got a certain age, then there's a few of us that, young boys, I suppose, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'd go off hunting and
Go with a few boys.
just for the day, and yeah. Well, everyone was doing something, you know. The
Yeah.
younger generation, the
Yeah.
women would go off, the girls would do the same, go hunting, and the men with the young boys and blokes. There's always something, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Do you remember having a favourite sort of uncle or a father figure you looked up to, like, a man in the camp that you really sort of really looked up to?
All
All of them were much the same as...
of them much the same, but you do have in our culture where you have like a main uncle, which is his role to sort of grow you up in the right way, to guide you and show you, give you directions in life, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because when young Aboriginal person reaches a certain age, then they're handed over to, you don't belong to your mother or father anymore, you know.
Okay.
Yeah, you're still connected strongly,
Yeah.
but the role of the uncle is to teach you the next phase of
Right.
life, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah. Then they encourage everyone to, every family to visit and send you off to other homelands and other tribes around in that
Wow.
region.
To learn from others.
Learn from others. Also, you learn to map the countryside, you know.
I was going to ask about that. When you go for a hunt, how do you, how do you find your way, or how do you know where you are?
I think our sense of directions, it's pretty good, you know, because we know the sun's coming up in the east.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it sets in the west.
Yeah.
But also there's a lot of landmarks, you know, that people don't realise that you can pinpoint and you can keep in the back of your mind. So if you 10 k's that way, and you look around, you see that landmark. Okay, you know that's a point. You know.
So
Yeah.
all those landmarks are like big signs, you know, like
Well,
road signs. You know?
Definitely, you know. Yeah. And that's why people see the dot paintings, the artwork in that. That's a mapping from looking down, you know.
Ah, I see.
Yeah. So we know exactly where the water rolls, the mountains, the creeks,
And that's like a map.
that's like a map.
Ah, I
Yeah.
see. I never realised that.
Yeah, no, that's it. So it's people say some of them say it's meaningless, but it's a story. It's image. It's a topographic map of the country, the region.
Wow.
Yeah.
And if your uncle was trying to explain to you how to get somewhere, he'd sort of probably draw like that in the dirt
You
too.
draw like that in dirt, you know. Yeah. This is where we're at. And that's where we need to go.
It's like a topographical map. The
That's
dot
it.
paintings.
That's it. Then you've got the names of all the other water holes and campsites and places, and it's fantastic. You know, once you once you get to know and understand that, and a lot of people still do that. You know. Yeah. The younger generation are more sort of westernized, and they're not getting out to the country as much, and they're more in town and living in communities, and so there's a disconnection there. But with the older generation, there's still a strong connection. Yeah. But everyone does a full circle, you know. Yeah. Eventually, everyone do their own thing. Then they'll eventually come back, you know. I must know my country, you know. I must know my language. You know, it comes back.
And I know with raising my son Kaito that, you know, when he's, you know, with boys, when they get to about 14 or so, they start to rebel against their father a bit because they want to be their own man.
Yep.
And it's important to bring in other men in their lives to teach them, you know, because you can teach your son a lot up until he's 14, but then he doesn't want to listen to his dad anymore.
No.
He wants to listen to others. And I'm, you know, that's interesting you mentioned that. That's what you guys do, is you get the young fellas out to other places, away, you know, to learn from other men as part of your culture. That's interesting.
And look, and grandparents are the major, who have the strongest influence.
Yeah.
Because the younger generation, the kids, and that they connect with the grandparents. Because grandparents have gone through life, and like the frictions you have with your son, the dominant assertive aspect of that's no longer in the grandparents. They sort of mellow out. They sort of understand life a lot more, and they're able to connect at that child or at that individual at a level that he feels comfortable and she feels comfortable, you know.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
On same page.
Yeah, so it's more mellow, isn't it?
And that's why we will always, and I've always said, grandparents, you know, shouldn't be locked away in aged cares and seniors places, and you know, the parents got to realise they've got a whole information of history there locked away, where the grandparents should be come back to help out with the homework, help out with the cooking, but at the same time he or she is telling them stories about her grandfather, her grandparent, great-grandparent, and so on. But the other good thing about that is, because the younger generation are more up to date with all the technology, there's a two-way learning and teaching going on. So the child or the young teenagers teaching grandparents how you can lock into and order stuff online. Oh, how do you do that? So they teach them a little bit basic scoop, computer skill to want it. So there's a two-way, and that's one thing people don't really sort of, or families overlook. You know, so instead of paying arm and a leg to put your child, in childcare, which is government run, and it's much cheaper and much more worthwhile. Looking at your family, elders, people that's in aged care, and they deserve better than to be shunted aside and be outcasts. Yeah, like the Italian women made comment yesterday. Yes, our tradition is similar to the Aboriginal people, that we cherish our seniors and encourage them to teach and show and tell stories to the younger generation.
If you look at, we've got a lot of staff, 100 staff in Gloucester, and just around Gloucester, it's all the young mothers are desperate for childcare.
Yep.
It's very expensive and it's very hard to get a place. And then there's so many elderly that are just sitting in their homes, with not much to do maybe, and it's like there's probably a bunch of grandparents in the same street that could look after their kids, it doesn't have to be, blood relatives.
They need to get together and say, look, we've got helpers right here, all these elderly people, that can be, don't even bother going to approaching the government to set anything up, because it's you don't want to do that, you want to go back to where you people, the grassroots and mums and dads that create something, Yeah.
You mentioned that yesterday several times, grassroots. That's where, the government sort of tries to take away from grassroots, but really communities should be run at grassroots level, shouldn't it?
Look, definitely, yep. And they need to be strong about it too and say, no, this is totally community control, and that's the way it is. And my kids learning about history, about this country, or my ancestors through these old age people, and it's working, Yeah.
And you sort of maybe seem a bit suspicious as a government, but which is good and healthy, I think. But also the social workers come looking for you when you were a kid, weren't they? They tried to. That was sort of the policy back then, to take you away, and that your mum had to hide you a few times.
Or the tribe, yeah. That was back then in the late 40s, 50s, and 60s, because you're light skinned, and back then was the welfare. It was the policeman on horseback then to pick up any half-caste kids or kids with light skin, and take them back and send them off to Darwin or to the islands, and people say that's where the stolen generation originated from. And the purpose of that was to hide the evidence, because back then you just had the white Australia policy, and there was nothing about mixed race and all that, It was just pure whites only, and they wanted to hide the evidence because they're white men, early explorers and drovers. They're the ones who created these light-skinned children. Yeah.
I see.
So the government said, no, we can't have that. We've got to grab those kids wherever they are and send them away. At the age of 2 and 3 sometimes. Yeah.
But your tribe was able to. You mentioned last night they hid you under a blanket and things like that, or you knew when they were coming, and sent you out bush.
Oh, look, through the grapevine, the tribes, that welfare bloke or policeman's coming back this way. So, and what we'd do that with the uncles and some of the tribe would go hunting for 3 or 4 days. Until they'd come and gone. Or if they sort of turn up, and then they'd throw you under a blanket, and feed the dogs around. So the dogs are sitting around there, and then but a lot of the time times the policeman didn't know that there was a child under that blanket, you know, hidden under that blanket. But sometimes the trackers knew.
Yeah, right.
Because their intuition and their sense is very good because they'll see something strange and they'll click on it to try to, okay, so there's a child there, you know.
So there was trackers who were working with the police?
With the police, yeah.
Yeah, right.
But they wouldn't say anything, you know.
Okay.
Yeah. They'd pretend it's the police now and there's nothing here.
Okay.
Yeah, let's keep going.
So you were able to stay with your tribe, you know? Like
Definitely,
that,
you know,
until you broke your leg.
And that's right, you know, because my uncles were into horses and cattle and I strongly sort of looked up all the drovers, you know, and stories that you hear of these big, strong men and I started doing the same and then ended up breaking a leg and the Hall's family, which is Rex and Margaret Hall at Urtupra Station, it sort of developed from there then. Yeah.
And I asked you about Rex Hall last night and what he was like. And you said he was a tough man, but he wanted you to remember what you said last night. He just wanted you to, as a young fella, to up your game. Remember that?
Look, most of those older generation were believe strongly in that. You know, you up your game. You know, yeah. You don't want me telling you 2 or 3 times. I tell you once, and you do it once, and you do it properly, you know? Yeah. So it's more as another way of saying, look, you know, these are the life skills that you need to survive in the big world and the new world. Yeah.
And 3 years, you only did 3 years of school, and that was pretty much all you needed, eh?
Look, that's all you needed, you know? Yeah. And like I said, English, reading and writing, and arithmetic, you know? The numbers. And then from there, you just continue to improve on it yourself. You're developing all the time. You're learning all the time, you know? Yeah, you're reading. What's your passion, you know? What's the kids love reading? Mine was sort of Western comics, you know, and books. And so I read that, and then each word you come onto, you sort of, okay, what does it mean, you know? Yeah.
And in your tribal language, you said last night, for distance, there's only like 3 numbers, and after that it's sort of
big mob,
you know?
Yeah, a lot, you know? Yeah.
You know, with you know, being a trucker and having, you know, Western numeracy is so exact, whereas Aboriginal is sort of just like different, so different. It must be hard to get that around your head, you know, those 2 sort of concepts, you know?
It is, you know, but because in our way, you know, you say only three numbers, then the rest of them just, that's big mob, you know? Yeah. So instead of say 1, 2, 3, then after 3 you might say, we saw big mob of camels today, you know? Then you might sort of say, 5, all right. Yeah, 10.
Yeah. And you're fluent in your, what's your language you're called?
Alyawara.
Yeah. And you're fluent in that?
Alyawara, yeah. Yep.
Are many people still fluent in that language?
Yeah, in our region, the older generation fluent in the true Alyawara language. It's changing a little bit now because there's a lot of interaction with different language groups, and so bits and pieces is joining up and or taken out and that's so yeah. So and it's important to document those, you know, because once your language gone, then you're pretty well gone, you know. Yeah, your roots are gone.
Have you? Has it been recorded, your language?
Yeah, and there's 2 language books that came out. The first one was more in line with what I believe how it should be spelled, where the other one was more sort of like a dictionary, but more from a linguistic side, you know. Yeah. It's not the way you sort of. The first one is more the way you say it and the way you pronounce it and the way it's written out or spelled is correct, you know. Yeah.
Wow. All right, mate. Well, that's nearly 30 minutes, and
Oh, okay. Yeah.
might let you finish your smoke, and we'll get these boys up, eh?
Get the fire going and off again. Yeah. See how far we get today.
Yeah. Thank you, mate. Right, just packing up camp, and you might have seen us blow down the back of this. We give this a quick blow down if we pull up camp. Blow down around here. But you see, there's no dust at all in the back here. Yeah, it's a lot of red dust, just bull dust. Look at this here. That's what's on the whole back of everything. Yeah, so just make sure the sleeping bags, like the blankets unplugged, and the blankets stay there, sleeping bags stay there, pillows stay there, the mattress is deflated, and just drop it all down now. But yeah, no skerrick of dust. Those pillows, they're the whole trip. No dust, you know, it's pretty good. Right, so there's the top of the rooftop tent, 2 150 panels. And it's hey Richard, there's that bird that was here last night.
Where is it?
Oh, it's just flying.
Okay.
I reckon he's got a nest in there. That white bird you just saw was sitting in that tree last night.
Yeah.
In that tree there, I think. You see the sun's just coming up. It's about 7 o'clock. Boys getting organised. Rich is all packed up. He's up early. We wake up every morning to the sound of Richard throwing sticks on the fire. And that's when I get up and have a little chat to him. Yeah, look at this. It's just on the back of a sand hill. There's the Starlink. Max Trax. Empty Jerry. The bag there, a bit of gear. It's our little camp. That's all we have every night. Just pretty simple. Just a little bit of space. Tucked away in the trees, and the truck's got to be pointed south for the Starlink to work. And then we're getting 150 megabits a second up download. Yeah, we're heading into the sun and heading northeast. I'm not sure what day it is, but yeah, going really good. Quick pack up and on the road at 7. Had a couple of calls or text messages to ring the office for a couple of issues, but got them sorted. And some pretty heavy corrugations on the sand, but yeah, it's running real smooth. So I've got 31 psi on the back and 27 on the front, and you can see good sized corrugations, but trucks you probably can feel that it's running pretty smooth. So that's about right for me. You know, every vehicle is going to be different depending on the weight of the vehicle mostly, and things like that. I'm at about 40 k's an hour and running pretty smooth. So yeah, had a good chat to Uncle Richard this morning. Talked for 30 minutes. And the chats just seem to get longer and longer with Richard, and so it's hard to load anything. Well, I can't load to Jake anything more than 10 minutes, so I've got to then split them up into 3, load them on the share file, And yeah, really good chat with Richard this morning about well, anyway. And yeah, I think Richard's really enjoying telling the stories. And some important messages too. Alright, anyway, we're just going to keep going. Heading up to well 13. We got 3:89 on the clock. We're going to try, it'd be nice to get to 5:25 today, which will be our 150 Ks, which sort of seems to be about our average. You know, we're not mucking around, but we're not racing along. You know, we're sort of on the road about 7. About 9 we pull up for a smoko, a brew, and then around, you know, between 12 and 1 for some lunch and afternoon tea, and then 4:30 we're pulling up, which and you know, we're going to bed early too, you know, like generally at home we're going to bed around 11 o'clock, but out here you're up early, and Richard's, you know, starting to yawn about 7:30, and which sounds very early, you know, but then he's up 5:30 every morning, and so we're sort of the same, you know. Me and Glenn stay up for a couple of drinks, and Brendan, we're going to bed about 8:30, and they're up early as well. But yeah, you know, the morning's the nicest part of the desert. No flies, it's calm, and you just get that real earthy, fresh smell that you don't get during the day. And at 4:30 as well, you know, it's still an hour, you know, that's getting dark about 5:30. So you really, you know, you're getting your tent set up, and when you're getting that golden hour, you know, you don't want to be rushing around trying to find a spot to camp during golden hour, really, because that's the time you want to be relaxing and having a beer and enjoying that beautiful evening, you know, the light, the colour comes out, and the flies go away, and so that's sort of working good, you know. Yeah, it'll be another 3 days on the track to get to Kunawarrigi, and then I'd say it'd be another 7 days after that to get to the top. So still got, you know, 10 days on the track. I mean, we did Madigan on the Simpson last year, and I don't think we didn't really film that. It was very windy, and we didn't put a video up. But I did Madigan line last year, me and Darren, and with a good friend, Craig Bell. But yeah, that seemed like a huge trip, you know, the Madigan. You know, like, yeah, what's that? 600 Ks, 500-600 Ks, and 3 days from home, Birdsville. But yeah, you know, there's nothing will feel big after this trip. It's a real challenge. Just a challenge in distance and time is all it is. You know, the actual tracking is not that difficult, but it's concentration too. You know, if you because you're long days driving every day, you make one mistake, you know, you can be which yeah, you know, I think that's the main thing, you know, is just be concentrating, because if you just sort of fiddling with the dash or not looking where you're going, or, you know, if you veered off the track for 1 second, you could hit a stump and it's all over, you know. 20 grand to get recovered. So I think that's the biggest challenge, you know. Or you drive along these sandy tracks, and all of a sudden these rocks come out of nowhere. You know, you can do 2 flats, you can wreck your front end. So I probably think concentration is the biggest challenge. You know, it's a bit different maybe with 2 drivers, but you know, Darren is on a rails, so we might get her behind the wheel later. She's on a rails, but it's hard with the manual and the big truck. And yeah, you know, it's not easy driving this track. You can't afford to make a mistake. I mean, you know, your only worry really is mechanical, you know, when something breaks. That's your only concern really, is mechanical. Anyway, yeah, beautiful morning again, and the sky's cleared up. Well, that's had some really weird clouds the last couple of days. You know, there was, you know, it's funny, you can think what you like about it, but there's, you know, there was a lot of planes 3 days ago flew over, and it just make the weirdest trails. Normally a vapor trail will do that, it'll vaporize, you know. It's just water vapor. But as you saw, those trails just spread out, and they join together, and they stay there for 2-3 days. And that's been happening a lot. I don't know what it is. You know, it's interesting to look up anyway. Look up and have a look and see what you think. But it's nice to see a clear sky, a beautiful blue clear sky. And all right, thanks guys. Yeah, just letting the boys through.
Let's have a look who we've got, eh?
There's a little memorial here for. Oh, mate.
Last person to sign it was on the 22nd of May, 23.
Steve Marshall, solo. Yeah. Years before that. Where's that Land Rover, boys?
It was created probably 40 years ago.
Intel phone
Canberra Community Church, Manrock, Campton.
So there must have had a doze of
Oh,
This is the.
Because I doubt the route that Rex is the original route.
Clifford Anderson.
11th to the 5th, 9th.
Yeah, as much as they
He goes back to
That's right, you know. 'Cause when- if-
2 oldies and some grandkids.
Roving trip,
The Kiddinghams,
Guy,
Lexi, Denise,
was right up in the lead, and then he
Jakes
started
and Tom. 2 oldies and some grandkids. Too many sharp rocks, not enough.
sand.
What else we got?
Mountain Bull from Tassie.
4th.
Yep. Clifford.
Oh, look, and then there's the 3rd. So not many, like that's from the 24th to the 10th.
Yep. Through to
I
March.
mean, maybe not everyone signed it, but
Oh, someone's written a novel here. Just about as having a heart attack.
yeah, so there's only been a handful come through. That's just maybe from the 24th to the 10th. A few on the 3rd. A few people went through in March.
Yep.
And then we got the
May.
5th.
Yep.
Only a dozen people, I suppose.
22nd of May. We'll sign it, eh?
Yeah,
What's the date?
I don't know.
What do you
What's the
think?
date, Darren?
25th.
25th
5th.
of May.
Oh, this 3 days ago.
Yeah.
Well, this way you're trying to push them, they'll just start dropping on you.
Love from the Kiwi boys.
LTD,
That would have been a lot of,
Hogs,
especially if you push them, like some of these wells seem quite far apart. If you push them from well to well,
Haven.
it's a reasonable push.
So all your fans, they can find you on Hogs Haven on Instagram.
And Uncle
Ready?
Richard. Yeah, mate.
Yeah.
You want to say anything to your fans?
The CSR is awesome. I'd recommend it.
Ben Murray, he's one of your fans, isn't he?
He's a great bloke. Hey, Ben.
Good fellow, Benny.
LTD, Hogs Haven, and Uncle Richard.
You got any other fans, or is that it?
I try to limit them.
Your kids are your fans?
Yep.
Who else?
Comfortable, so you'd
I can be your fan.
Yeah, Darren is your
probably
fan.
give them 2 drinks, you know?
You're following Hogs Haven, aren't you?
Yeah.
Let them feed.
What about
I've got a big following,
what
actually.
about Johnny? Johnny Appleton, Aberton.
Oh, yeah, Johnny. Here's David Hunter. Great guys.
John's a good fella, isn't he?
He is. Pop that back in.
Yeah. So, what are you?
You say a leño.
Yeah.
It's dead now. It's dry. It's yeah. That's it.
Yeah, right. Dry stick.
That's it. Yeah, yeah. You say a really lumbal nana. This one's that ghost gum family, you know? Yeah,
Yeah.
Coolibah.
Yeah.
Yeah, Coolibah, yeah.
What do you call it again?
Ulamba.
Yeah.
Yeah. Arilla means tree or stick or anything like that, and then Ulamba is more or less, okay, that's a colour, you know?
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, nice. As opposed to a dry stick. So you got a word
Linya.
for timber
Yeah.
that's live or dead.
That's Linya, that one. Yeah, it's dead.
Yeah.
Yeah, dead wood. Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah, some real tough little rocky section there. You know, this long wheelbase is, I think, an ideal length. 400mm extension, but you know, I'm able to cover the ground. You know, sit on about 40 and blend shorter wheelbase. You know, and I'm not in a hurry, but just can't keep up. But that's just, I think, that long wheelbase. You know, it's like a boat. You know, the shorter it is, the more up and down you're going, and that sort of takes away momentum. But yeah, loving the long wheelbase. You know, you don't want to be too long and get hung up, but yeah, tricky little section there. But this 400mm extension on the 79 is working great, you know. There's a big thing too, you look at a normal 79 and the wheel's tucked up right up at the front of the cab, at the front of the canopy, and the rear wheel axle, but with the extension it's more right underneath the canopy, and so yeah, no, it's working good. Yeah, so maybe time for a quick story. Oh, jeez. Soft there. Geez, soft on the corner, boys. Get ready to put the power down.
Roger that. Copy.
You have a problem, just yell out straight away, okay? Quick bit here. Just got really soft there, right in the corner. Yeah, so I got up to Mongully Falls, and the first day me and Tim were there, we had to saddle you know, a dozen horses, and we didn't know how to do it. You know, literally taking tourists out that morning. So we put them on where we thought they should go, which was sort of right in the middle of the horse, and the bridles, you know, I mean, it's easy to get a bridle inside out and back to front, and we had the bridles inside out and back to front. And anyway, tradie come over to see how we're going, and there we were standing there, you know, like you see those photos of a dog that's done something wrong, and just standing there like, what, you know, what do we do wrong, you know, like if it's chewed the couch or something. Anyway, I was standing there, and Dreddy come up, and he's like, what the F are you boys doing, you know, because it was all wrong, you know. Get through that okay?
Yeah, we're just waiting for Uncle Richard.
All good, Rich?
Yeah, buddy.
And anyway, so Trouty, you know, he probably should have told us to, you know, piss off, you bloody idiots, because we applied for the job saying we were experienced horsemen, you know, and we had no idea. So he should have told us to piss off, but you know, another massive defining moment in both our lives, in my life. He said, "Righto, boys, come and I'll show you how to do it." You know, probably trying to say to us, up your game, you know. And anyway, so he showed us how to saddle a horse and how to put the bridle on. Trouty grew up on a cattle station, so he was a real cattleman and loved his horses and cattle. And he'd come from a cattle station, Kirrama, down at the back of Tully. Beautiful big station, 100,000 acres. And anyway, so he showed us how to do it, and then you know that was it. We were shown, you know, and we were off, and we worked hard, and took all these tourists, you know, backpackers mostly, horse riding and whitewater rafting, and we had a ball, you know. I was only getting $200 a week, but $200 a week for that was a 7-day week, and it was, you know, it's like on a station, you know. It's just like if you need a day off, have a day off. Otherwise, we just work for a day, and we worked for months straight, and we sort of didn't need a day off because we enjoyed it so much, you know. And a lot of time we do a horse riding in the morning, and then we'd take the tourists whitewater rafting in the afternoon. And there was the rafting guides, Brad from Cairns, Brad and Huey, and you know, they were typical rafting guides, you know, big I think you had to be the type of person to be a rafting guide, you know. And anyway, and then for a lot of the time we would go with them, you know. They'd have, say, 3 in a boat, and they need 4, or they need someone on the front to, you know, for a bit of power or steering, and so we'd get to go with them, or there might be 7, you know, and 6 in the boat, and then we'd take 1 more on a kayak, you know. And we learnt, that's where I learnt kayak, you know. I loved the water and canoes and kayaking, so we were literally kayaking or rafting the Beatrice River. The Beatrice it was, you know, nearly every day, and it was a beautiful little river. It wasn't a massive river like the Tully River, big power, but it was very technical, and you really learned how to paddle and steer a boat on the water. And yeah, so we had a good time there, ongoing, and I stayed there 12 months, and remember one time, you know, I think I can tell this story, but you know, Trout family sold the station, and they sold it to some, I think they're investors from overseas. Anyway, they got a deal where they could adjust their cattle for free on the station after they sold it. And anyway, and they had you know, their whole lives were the breeding cattle on there, you know, all their breeding cows, and you know, I think there was a couple of thousand head on there. Anyway, somehow there's a bit of a stitch up, and the cattle were the Trout's cattle, but it was adjusting on the station they'd sold. And all of a sudden they got a message that they said, you know, the owners are coming in, and they're going to lock the gates, you know, on that weekend or on the Sunday, or very soon, like within a week, they're going to lock the gates, and anything on the property was theirs, you know. And so yeah, they must have got a tip off, and they realised. I remember Trouty it was just panic stations, you know, because you know, it's like they were cattlemen, and these were their cattle, you know. It was $1 million worth of cattle. Anyway, so they put the word out, you know, to all the cattlemen and all their mates, all their ringer mates, and the rodeo boys, and you know, cowboys come from all over North Queensland. You know, Charlie was the milkman, he come, and Steve Trout was, he's a really nice guy. We met up in, you saw Steve Trout on the station up in, on the Cape York video. He had the dogs, you know, and that little mad quad bike. That's Steve Trout. He was riding the radios a lot, and you know, he put the call out, and Kieran Lucy was a rodeo clown, and all the boys, and Kieran Lucy, yeah, he was a rodeo clown, quite well known at the time, and he owned the station, or his family had the station Gosham next door, and I think Gosham was the station where they had the first Australian Survivor series, if people saw that. Anyway, what the goal was to push all the cattle onto Gosham as quick as they could, and they had choppers come in, and I mean normally it'd take months to muster that country, and they literally had 4 or 5 days, you know. And anyway, so I got the chance to go out there, and Trouty had to race back and get a truck and bring some more horses, so he asked me if I'd like to come, and I'm like, hell yeah, you know, I wanted to be a cowboy, and I wanted to work on stations, and you know, Mungali Falls was a horse riding place, it wasn't a cattle station. But I learned to ride there, and you know, I learned to shoe horses, and anyway, so I went back with Trouty, and it was just amazing, incredible to be part of that, you know. And I remember riding, but I'd never worked cattle before, so I was back at the back of the herd with Trouty, pushing these cows, and you know, I remember one time a steer sort of broke out because we were pushing them so hard. You know, they were breaking out everywhere. It's in the, you know, thick bush, and I remember a heifer broke out one time, and I went chasing after it, and Trouty was screaming at me, you know, like, stop chasing it, you know, because I was literally trying to catch up with it, but I was chasing it, and you can't. It's very hard to you know, to overtake a cow in the bush. You know, I mean, it's incredible. Richard will know, and riding a horse through thick scrub is a real skill, you know, and you got to duck under the branches, and it's incredibly difficult, you know, because all these branches and obstacles, and you know, if you're galloping through the bush, you know, it's very, very hard to do. So it requires great skill as horse and rider. And anyway, so Trouty said, you've got to, we lost that beast, he's gone, you know, $500, and he's like, get back here, you know. And he said to me, you got to go around and head him off, and then push him back in. So I learned that, and because I learned cattle with Graham Brown, I never chased after him like that in the thick bush, you know. And anyway, and then Trouty was, I remember him, because also some of the calves, they were getting pushed too hard, and you know, they were sitting down, falling down, and they couldn't get up. And normally you'd have someone, you know, maybe one of the women, you know, the wife of one of the ringers, or the head stockman's wife. I mean, it was Jody. I'm pretty sure it was Jody was the head stockman's wife, and on the station. And she used to drive the Toyota with a horse float at the back, and when we're mustering up there in the cattle station, she would pick up any calves and you know, put them in the horse float, you know. But at this time we couldn't do that. I remember Trouty was almost in tears, because they were his cattle, almost like his children, you know. And cattlemen love their cattle, you know. And I remember he was saying, we've got to keep pushing, or we're going to lose a lot, you know. And anyway, so there was amazingly part of that, you know. I remember a big old homestead, and Peter Trout was there with his boys. He had 4 boys, Luke, young Matty, he was only about 10 years old, and Luke, and Mick and Stephen, and yeah, and all the cowboys. And I remember too, I had my little swag, the green swag that I had on out at Walgett, and had a little zip, you know, to stop the mozzies, you know, like the little tiny half dome swag. But all the other cowboys and the ringers, they just had swags like Richard, you know, just a flat swag, just lay, you know, a bit of canvas that lays out on the ground. And I remember those mozzies that night, and I was able to zip up me mozzie net, and they were all like, wow, you got the best swag, mate, you know. It's like that latest technology swag, you know. And the mozzies weren't worrying me, you know. And, yeah, anyway, so it's, I mean, you know, I was there 12 months with Trouty, and he really looked after me, and I learned a lot. I got my license for the truck there, and learned how to ride, and then, you know, I really wanted to work in the cattle station. So Trouty used to know the head stockman. What's their names now? I'll think of the names in a second. We talked about him yesterday, or a couple of days ago. What was his name, Darren? Head stockman.
The guy who
Passed away.
you bought.
Yeah, bought the saddle off. Oh, I know his name, I just can't think of it now. Anyway, there was 2 head stockmen, and one of them was Trouty's mate. And you know, so Trouty lined me up this job with with Malungra, you know. And so I remember heading out there. I was in the panel van, and it was maybe April. Couldn't go up there till the wet season finished, and I was back in Blaney for a little while, working with my dad. And then I was heading up to the cattle station, and Evan Acton was the station owner, you know. And I remember I always bought the Queensland Country Life, and he had a front page photo in the Queensland Country Life, you know, just as I was halfway up to Queensland, and he had a horse. Some people might remember it, but he had a horse there. It was a Queensland record for the amount of money paid for an Australian stock horse. I think it was $19,000, something like that. And he was right into the camp draft, and this was a really well-bred horse for the camp drafting. And anyway, Evan and his horse from the front page of the Queensland Country Life. I remember that as I was driving up there, and all I was told was just to get to Julia Creek and give Evan a call, you know. So I rang him. I got there and I rang him up, and he said to me, yeah, we'll just head out. You know, it's 140 k's, I think it was, up a dirt track, very rough track. And he said that the Saxby River was up, but he said it should be right. Anyway, so I drove that track. It was much like this, you know, very rocky and sandy. I was in the panel van, and and now I got to the Saxby River, I remember, and it seemed to be fairly full, you know, like it was a lot of water in it, and it was straight across the road, and I'd never driven through water before, so, you know, it was sort of, you know, there was no salties around, but I didn't know that, and I knew there was crocs about, but there were a lot of freshwater crocodiles in those rivers, but no salties. But I didn't know that, and I was too scared to walk into you don't walk into a crossing up that country if you don't know. And it would have been okay because there was no salties, but yeah, again, I didn't know that. There was freshies there. Anyway, so I was too scared to walk into it. I didn't know what to do. So being a young fella, I was 22, in a panel van, old XD panel van. What do you do when you see a river crossing flooded, you know? So I backed up. I did the only thing I knew to do, back up and get a run up, you know. So it was the old 3-speed on the column. I backed right up on the hill a bit, and first, second, I hit it second gear, flat out, probably doing 50, 60 k's an hour. So stupid, dumb as dog shit. Anyway, this enormous wall of water flew up over the truck, and Glenn's having another suspension fault. Anyway, this huge wall of water flew up over the top of the panel van, and it's a petrol motor, you know, and it just conked out immediately and straight away, and then I just rolled to the middle of the causeway, you know, right in the middle, just slowly rolled down, and the water came up to about my chest. I was thinking, shit, you know, that didn't work real well. I mean, what I should have done was put a tarp or a blanket over the front, disconnected the radiator belt, and just drove through real steady, and I would have got through. I didn't know that. No one had told me, and anyway, so I couldn't even radio anyone because the radio was flooded and everything was flooded. So anyway, all I could do was, I was shit scared of the croc, so I sat up on top of the, on top of the roof rack, just sat there. And after about, I don't know, it wasn't long, half an hour, this bloke come along in a purple Land Cruiser, and he's like, what the hell are you doing? You know, he's pissed off at me because I was blocking the track. And he was a bit angry, you know, he was a station owner from next one up. And he's like, so I will have to bloody pull you out of there. So he threw me, he didn't have a rope, he threw me a length of number 8 wire. And I said, what do you want me to do with that? He said, get under there and tie it off. I was like, oh, I'm not getting under there. And he said, no, get under there, mate, you know. So I had to anyway, so I rolled out the wire and dived down underneath and tied it around it took me a little while, you know, I mean, it's brown water and, you know, it was a good 5 foot deep probably. So I tied it off, and then, you know, he told me there's no crocs there, and I took it back and he tied it on the front of his bull bar, and just number 8 wire, that's what they used back those days. Didn't have snap straps or anything. And he pulled me backwards, and I was thinking he's gonna, you know, help me out, get me going, and show me how to start my car, or maybe tow me through, or tow me to the station. no, he just pulled me back, untied his wire, rolled it up, took off, didn't say another word. So there I am now, I'm on the wrong side. And anyway, the water dropped, and of course, you know, and the radio, I'm pretty sure the radio still works. So I got on channel 10 and radioed up, and Wally was his name, was Trouty's mate. I think of his second name, it'll come to me. And he said, yeah, look, we'll send someone out. So he sent one of the ringers out, Brendan I think it was, come out and in a Land Cruiser and towed me back to the station, and that was it. That was the start of my cattle station experience. And yeah, you know, that'll probably do for the moment, but you know, I would have loved to have had a 4-wheel drive, or dreaming about a 4-wheel drive, but you know, back those days they were expensive, you know, we couldn't afford them, and you know, couldn't afford a 4-wheel drive, but here we are. The panel van, you know, did the job. It was like Richard's old HR ute, you know, and oh, I had an amazing time on the station. You know, they gave us 5. Well, for the first few months, I was thinking I'd be straight in a horse, but no, it was still too wet to muster. So we were on fencing duty, and all we did was fence every day for about 2 months. You know. And anyway, I'll tell that another time. So, bit of a yarn. Thanks, guys. Wow, look at that. It'd be good to camp there. If we were camping there, I'd climb up there and have a look. Beautiful. Look how tall this Spinifex is here. Yeah, so now we just put the rope on there for the moment, see how that goes. See if it helps a bit. Definitely help a bit. Yeah, so Glenn got stuck back there on the sandhill. So that's, I'll have to ask him about that tonight. Talk it through, see what happened. Yeah, he was supposed to scratch the radio up to get stuck, so we know. And he tried to hide it. But Richard called out on the radio and we found out, so yeah, that's pretty funny. Alright, look at this, eh? Spinifex is thick. How high you reckon? 100 metres. Oh, it's pretty high. 100 metres. Is this one here?
Which one? This one? Yeah, that's one there.
Yeah.
And there's another 2 there.
Should we
So, and take one of those 2 if you want to. Yeah. They do build that, see that tunnel there? Coming along there.
is that a tunnel, is it?
Yeah, it's like a freeway from one Spinifex to another.
Yeah?
Yep.
That's a tunnel.
Yeah, they use that as the main route to where their food source is.
Wow.
Yep.
This is what they use to bind the spears.
Yeah, and axes.
How do you get that out of there?
You heat it up on ashes or coals, you know?
Yeah?
Yeah, so if you... Then it goes real pliable, then you can work it.
Can we try that tonight?
Yeah, if you want to take those and just try it. Yep.
Right.
Another one there, like a tunnel. So moved on elsewhere now. That's the old one there. Oh no, they're sort of building a new one there where your hand is on the other side there. Tunnel there, yeah, that's new.
Yeah.
No, back.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
We haven't touched that, so that's
So they go on.
that's waxy, eh?
It is. Yep, very waxy.
That's the old tunnel.
Mm-hmm. That's it, yep. Yep.
Yeah, wow. That's a little.
There, Brendan, that's Spinifex wax there. Sabine wax. That's the name of this plant.
Yeah, so then do you reckon you could look that up for us? Gorgeous little
Yep.
red flower, isn't it?
Yes, it is, yeah. It grows out in the sandy loam desert country, you know. Yep.
Nice.
I'm going to go back and do it again. Tell Richard to come up.
Yeah, wow, it's beautiful in here. This hill here. Probably dropped 100 kilos of diesel, I'd say. Yeah, it's just feeling really, the truck feels just like it wants to get up and go now. Just really riding sweet. We've got the 40 litres off the roof, that's helped a lot. And I've still got one Jerry, but we've done 500 k's now. It's 1,000 to Kunawarrigi, and I'm sitting on, what is it? About 2/3 of a tank full, and I got one jerry can left, 20 litres. So put that jerry in, it'd almost be 3/4. We're halfway, so we'll probably end up getting there with a quarter of a tank left. I started with 240 litres, so that's worked out pretty well. You know, we didn't know exactly how much we're going to use on the track, but you know, that's pretty good. You know, I did have a fourth jerry can, but I decided not to bring it. I've got it in here empty, but I just don't need it. So yeah, so that's worked out pretty well. And now that we've dropped that little bit of weight, The truck's just feeling really nice, you know, it just feels a lot lighter and feels like I was in the Simpson, you know, which would be, you know, you could do the Simpson now, but we got easy. Anyway, got some beautiful sand hills, a couple of good ones there. Uncle Richard had to back down once and Glenn's had to back down once, so there'll be some stories tonight. And yeah, some big hills here. Here we go. The old 79. Gee, that's a tough one. Oz first gear, flat out, I'll wait at the bottom. So there you go, boys. Yeah, that was a tough one because very scalloped.
Okay, yeah.
And
And to break it up too, as warm as the sun's shining on it.
yeah. I think with the independent suspension, I feel like I'm getting up
Maybe
this.
40 and 30 might be a bit high.
You get stuck, Glenn?
Get stuck.
What? Are you still coming or what?
Yeah, I'm still coming.
Have you got to the big hill yet?
Yes.
There we go, film. That's where you got to then. Here he goes. Yeah. I think you need to let a bit out, eh? Big tyre shackle. See that, Brendan? Down his mum made that.
Oh, really?
Yep. So we want
That
to-
is a beast.
I like that. Yeah. Yeah, you basically just got to just put a quick second low and just rolling down the hill. Just got to roll down, okay? Alright, keep it right up. Where's the you got my gauge? Yeah.
What's that, mate?
And the radio?
Yep.
Did you drop tyres a little bit?
Yeah, Rich dropped them. How much did you drop your tyres by, Rich? He's only dropped the back at this stage.
Okay. Okay, keep it going. Let's go. Go, Richard. Keep going, keep going, keep going, keep going. Pull up, Glenn. Nice. Yeah, Rich just had a bit of trouble there. Yeah, which leaves tyres down a bit. It's got a lot hotter at the moment, and with extra heat and the sand's just getting more soft, and tyres are up a little bit. So he dropped his tyres and yeah, it's just having a bit of trouble with the automatic selecting the right gears. You know, it's hard with the auto. I think he had it in drive rather than locking it into the gears, so we got that sorted and got the tyres all good now. Yeah, this is yeah, amazing desert through here. Yeah, so we're going to pull up a little bit early this time. I think it's 2:30 now, and we'll try to pull up about 4, I think, so we can have a shower and a bit of a look around with Richard, a bit of walk. Tough one. We'll see how the boys go with that. Yeah, so a bit of a tip if you're on these sand hills. If you sort of see how they're really scalloped here, you just sort of steer to the side like the 2 o'clock. See, my wheel's heading that way, you know. And what you're doing is you just you know, you can't steer out of these ruts. It's impossible, really. But you're just picking up sort of as much fresh sand as you can, rather than right in the middle of the deep holes. Even here, you know, I just steer towards the outside a little bit and try to stay on the outside of the rut. And then you're just picking up, you know, you're not right in the middle of the rut. So, you know, I learned that when I had the trailer, you know. Turn dots across the Simpson twice, and you know, it's such an anchor having a trailer. And all good, fellas.
Yep.
So yeah, you know, it just helps a lot. Rather than being right in the middle of the rut, you're sort of on the edge of the rut. To get on the edge of the rut, you've really got to try and steer out of it at a small angle. You know, maybe at 10 o'clock or 2 o'clock, and it just grabs sort of fresh sand and makes a big difference. You know, so yeah. Anyway. Tip. Otherwise, it's just also being in the right gear. Once your tyres are right, once it's been in the right gear, so you can give it a boot full and some good revs when you need it. You know, you don't want to be getting bogged down and lagging. Once you start lagging and no power, you're finished. You know, so it's the trick is. I think autos. I mean, the autos are great, so easy, but when you're on sand hills, I know. On the Simpson trip, the boys trip, anyone with an auto just had trouble. Andy can, and my dad even had trouble trying to pick the right gear, you know. Whereas with the manual, you know, you sort of know what you've got a bit more, you know. Anyway, okay, so yeah, we're sort of pretty hot and sweaty and filthy, so I'm just going to get the shower going. So all we'll do is hang that up there, plug that in, drop that in a bucket of water, press on, and then press start. And some more ensuite. That's it. So I'm gonna have a bit of a shower. What do you think, Daddy? You gonna have a shower?
That's a good idea.
Yeah? How are you holding up?
Look at me.
Pretty clean?
Yeah.
Or pretty dirty? Huh? Hot and sweaty, dusty and dirty. It's a tough place for a girl, isn't it?
Mm,
You reckon?
yeah.
I haven't heard your whinge yet, though.
Oh.
Pull up, there's flies, Richard, eh? Flies
it.
all over her,
Yep.
dust all over her.
Mm.
But hey, not a bad little coffee table you got there, mate.
Bloody hell, mate. Yeah.
What sort of timber's that?
Home brand desert oak.
Home brand desert oak, eh?
That's it. Yep.
Yeah, there it is there.
And that's it there.
Okay, same tree.
Yeah, same tree. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Beautiful. Yeah, you spotted that, didn't you? I went running off the truck trying to look for a camp and Richard just saw this desert oak. He said, we're heading for there.
Yes.
So I'm going to take this home and I'll chop that into 4 chopping blocks, polish them up and send them to each of us.
Definitely, yeah.
Alright, we'll get the shower going, make Darren feel like a woman again. Hey?
Oh,
What do you think of the trip? Is it a tough trip or what?
yeah.
Why?
Not too bad.
Just long, isn't it? Long and dusty.
Yeah.
And I think the important thing is bring a nice shower for the girls every few days.
Yeah.
Alright, well I'm getting in first.
Fuel and water.
Right, Darren's got the dinner on here. Pumpkin. Oh, just that shower. And oh, it feels that much better. Yeah. This little unit there. I'll just turn him off. Just running half a bucket of water. The Stockton toiletry bag hangs up. So good. Richard's got his little spot.
None of them have actually moved back.
It's the boys. Let's see what they're doing. Hey, what's going on over here?
Oh, we've got chicken on over there.
Come here, look. So, oh yeah,
Yep, so we're going to have a bit of spicy wings.
the brand going good this time.
Yes, good mate.
So talk us through the
Set up.
big problem today.
I've been stitched
Yeah.
up. I've been stitched up, I think.
The radio etiquette, right? The rules are if you get stuck, you have to call up, so we know to stop.
Yeah.
And you know,
I was trying to do it actually under
but
disguise.
you snuck backwards without saying anything. But Richard, good old Richard, he put the call out. He's like, oh, I'll wait here for you then. I'm like, oh, what's going on here, Glenn?
That's right.
Then you had to own up to it.
So I'll give you the rundown. So I was in everything normal, mate.
Because he had his mirrors in, and he'd be wondering where's Richard, you know?
Yeah, that's
Just in
it.
case you back back.
He probably backed straight into you.
That's it. That's why I called up. no choice, buddy.
No, I had the reverse camera on. I could see you.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
So why didn't you observe radio etiquette? Like if you're on a tag along with a proper tour,
That's right.
you would have been chipped for that.
Out of it.
I'm not chipping you because we're mates, but I'm just letting everybody know, you know.
Yeah, I was the first to get stuck today. Up a sand hill. And yeah, everything like normal, just like road driving. And surprise, surprise, it stopped halfway up.
You know what you were missing was Jen. She
That's
would've-
right. If Jen was there, she would have pressed the right button, would have been off.
Or if Brendan was driving, he's got a heavier right foot, eh?
Oh, he has.
And he's a racer.
He is. Yeah.
You
That's
tell me
because it's not his car. That's why.
he's got a quad bike that does 180 k's an hour.
He has.
He's a crazy man.
Yeah.
Anyway, so well, you've got the award for the first getting stuck.
Yes.
Rich is not far behind you.
Yes. Go interview him for his second award.
Oh,
Yeah, Rich. Bit of a tough hill that one, wasn't it?
It was. Yeah.
Getting bogged in the little Hilux
But,
is not too bad.
No, look.
Adds a bit of adventure.
Yeah. I just started off with 35s.
Yeah.
Then with as it got warmer, then it got up to bloody 40.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we dropped the whole pressure back down to 30 now, and now we're starting to run into big dunes, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it should be
Yeah.
good. Yep.
So I dropped the pressure a bit, and we were all good, eh?
Yeah, all good, all
Yeah.
good. Yep. Then I'll just check in the morning. So
Some beautiful driving today, wasn't it?
nice, eh?
Yeah.
Nice, yeah.
How you handle it? Like, it's when you're a trucker, you're used to it, but it's long days. It's not easy, is it? Like, it's in and out. You're on that wheel all day, back and forth, back and forth.
Look, that's it, you know. But if you like driving and you're used to it, and main thing is if you love looking at the countryside, it doesn't bother you, you know.
Yeah.
But if you there and you need to get from point A to point B and you're looking at the road, then that's not the way to do it, you know.
Yeah. Because
You
so
gotta
much
do it.
to see, isn't there? You know.
That's it, you know.
Yeah.
Because say tomorrow we've got 426 kilometres.
Mhm.
And Lake Disappointment shouldn't be too far away. So
Yeah.
to Coonawarrigi.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's it.
So we'll come on there and yeah.
And what are we going to chat about tomorrow morning, you reckon?
Head north on Canning Stock Route track.
Oops. I'll
Who
just
knows?
Shut this off. Well, look. I mean, you know, we can talk about say Port Hedland trucks and same thing. You know, like our guys letting the pressure down to 60 or 50 psi and as long as the jewels doesn't start rubbing, you know, when your tyre starts bulging.
Okay.
Yeah,
That's what you're looking for.
That's it.
Yeah,
So you got to
yeah.
drop it down to 60 is about reasonable.
Yeah.
Then you drive according to the conditions, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we can do that tomorrow.
We'll
and,
figure something out to talk about.
Yeah. That's
Oh,
it.
it's just beautiful right now, isn't it, mate? Like this.
Oh,
This is the golden hour. Look at that.
it is. Yep.
Just the wind's just dropped.
That's it.
Boys are mucking around with their winch. Yeah, look at that.
Yeah, so it looks like that we're not too far from that lake. Sorry. Yeah, we're not too far from the Lake Disappointment.
Yeah. Well, would have liked to get there, but
Yeah.
it's a good
but
hour, I
just-
reckon.
Oh, too much time just
Yeah.
rushing around, setting up a camp and all that, you
Yeah.
know.
Yeah.
So we're better off doing it this way.
Oh, here comes Darren with the plates, so we better hook in some dinner.
Yeah, past New Zealand.
Hey, Glenn,
Yeah, bro.
how many airbag sensor possible problems did you just looked it up? 16 possible problems?
18.
18.
There's quite a few.
We added one.
Yeah, there's quite a few.
But all you need to fix it,
There's a hammer.
no, is a blower.
Yeah, that's actually what cleans it off. I just blow the
There's a
sensor
Makita
off.
18
Dead
volt
set.
blower.
I reckon when you go do a service on a disco,
You just
all they
take
do is get a
blower.
blower and blow everything down and then hand it back to you. Charge you $600.
Yeah. Without that,
That's all they do.
the sensor pops up. So
Maybe they give the sensors a wipe.
Yeah, maybe wipe them with a
Bit
chamois.
of vinegar. White vinegar. Give it a bit of a wipe up.
How many months is it to do the when you buy a disco? How many months does it take for the handover course to learn all the systems and the buttons? Is it like 3-month course or what?
I guess that depends whether it's a 2, 3 or 4 or 5, right?
well, I've had discos for I don't know, 20, coming up 20 years. So I'm well versed.
Oh, okay, you can sort of skip that.
Yeah,
The 3-month mandatory. You
yeah.
know, like you got to do your gun
learner's
license.
license. Yeah,
When
I'll
you do your
pass
gun
that.
license, you got to sit down for like 6 hours and do a course.
Yes. I do.
Disco, it's a 3-month course,
Yeah,
but since you've owned it for 20 years, you probably
Yeah, I'm
get a few
passed.
credits, you know.
Yeah. He gets a pass.
Yeah. Oh, what a good night, eh? And what a good day.
We've had an amazing day. It's been in some
And,
epic dunes.
So you're driving tomorrow,
wicked
Brendan, and
crossings.
there'll be an absolute zero chance that the disco will get stuck tomorrow.
Not a chance.
I'm going to pull the
Not a
handbrake on.
chance.
It's all it is the right foot, eh? That's all it is.
It's the right foot. It's being in the right gear at the right time.
Glenn thinks he's in Kenthurst, going around the
He
roundabout,
does. He's off to Woolies. Yeah, to buy another slab.
down to the Woolies.
I
to
tried
get-
cruise
to get
control up a
pizza and
sand
a
He's
dune.
going
salad.
to BWS.
Cruise control up a
Ted,
sand
Ted said
dune.
what he thinks he's doing, eh? He's at the roundabout in Kenthurst.
Yeah. He's so hell bent on proving the disco's capability.
That he forgot
That he
about.
actually forgets to push the throttle.
Yeah. He thinks he doesn't need to push the throttle. He just pushes a button.
He pushes a button.
Actually, you got to push the throttle sometimes, Glenn. Yeah. Anyway, I love your truck too, mate.
Yeah, I do.
I love it with you. Okay. You know what? It's doing it.
Yeah,
Well, where are we? You know,
that's right.
We're in the middle of absolutely nowhere.
500 k's the nearest anywhere, isn't it?
Yep.
And even that's nothing.
On the CSR. In fact, we're in the one. I think this is the best camp spot we've had throughout the trip.
Oh yeah. And what about how that tree just fell down?
Yeah,
It's amazing.
Providing the
Miraculously, it
perfect-
fell down, all the branches
providing
broke
the
off and landed on
perfect
our fire
plywood.
pit.
Oh, desert oak. Well, Uncle Richard saw it. He spotted it. We couldn't
Yeah.
see it. He just like over there, desert oak,
Yeah.
dead one.
That's right.
Like what? Where?
Dead
We
one.
can't see it.
He was looking.
And then we worked our way through the bush and found it.
Yeah.
Then it fell over.
Yeah, it's perfect.
It was amazing.
Yeah.
That.
We only
Yeah.
leaned on it.
All right. Well, we've got our little shot glass of
Mine's
fireball.
empty because the barman's useless.
Yeah. Oh, these are the go, eh? These
are
are
the
the
go.
things. What do you got? I got oh, I can't remember. I got Tipperary.
I got Marie.
I've got Maori as well.
No,
Yeah.
you're married.
Little
No,
enamel shot
Maori,
glasses.
not Maori.
All right. Yeah, 8:30's getting really late, boys.
Yeah.
Well, Uncle Richard's up 5:30, eh?
He is.
We got
It's more like 5.
once he's up, you got to get up. No sleeping in.
Pressure's
eh?
on.
No sleeping in.
I don't do it.
This morning I had no option but to lie there, waiting. I was like,
Yeah.
hurry the fuck up.
You were stuck, weren't you? And it just kept going
I'm
and
busting
going.
for a piss. Hurry up with the video.
You could have snuck out the other side.
There was a bush right there.
Oh yeah. Sorry, bro. Just
I
tell
thought,
me.
can I sneak the zipper open and just have a peek?
I heard you. You just did a little bit, didn't you?
I did.
It was
Then I
so
oh no,
loud.
that's too noisy.
Everybody was asking, like, what was that? No, just yell out, say you want to pause. Pause, Richard.
Yeah, pause. Hey,
And
you
then,
fellas, I
then
need a
you can
piss.
get out a piss, and then get back in again. You know.
That'll be mint.